Declining Pete Fairbanks' option isn't just cutting costs, it's buying the Rays' flexibility for the rotation.
You are Locked On Rays, your daily Tampa Bay Rays podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome into the Locked On Rays podcast. Locked On Rays is part of the Locked On Podcast Network, now the #1 sports podcast network. Your team every day. We are Kevin and Ulises.
And we are lifelong Rays fans who have been podcasting about the Tampa Bay Rays since 2019.
Later on today's show, Pete Fairbanks will have competition amongst fellow relievers in free agency. In a few minutes, an idea for a veteran starter who would fit the Rays budget. But to start, the Rays declining Pete Fairbanks' option means addressing the rotation.
And we're going to talk about all of that thanks to Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off your first purchase. Kevin, that's right. Declining Pete Fairbanks' option should lead to starter help. And there was an article on the Tampa Bay Times by Mark Topkin, shout out, where a couple of Neander quotes came about. I'll read them to you. Our bullpen has some depth to it. As we look forward, I didn't have enough confidence that it was going to be a clean fit for us next year, given some of our other needs. And from a financial standpoint, we had an idea of the market and different things we could do, but I also want to make sure that we have enough maneuverability in the early going to target some other areas of our club that could use some help and improvement. And I think he's talking about the rotation. When you look at the state of the roster, I will say I kind of think we both agree that we disagree with Neander saying that our bullpen has some depth to it.
Yeah, line number 1 there.
Eric, come on, dude.
Unless he knows something we don't know that we're not privy to.
And that's 100% valuable. Like, that's valid 100%. He definitely can know more than us. But from this standpoint, boy, it doesn't look, it looks flimsy. But
as of today, it's thinner without Pete Fairbanks than with Pete Fairbanks on the roster.
Exactly. And you can argue that he should not be paid $11 million as an elite closer because of the decreasing strikeout rate, because of the cold factor, because of the home runs, because of maybe the walks. I get it. But your bullpen right now is worse off. Anyway, the rotation. These $11 million has to go to the rotation. And I think that's kind of what he's saying here, that it gives you some flexibility for the other areas of the club. Like $11 million is not enough for something flashy, but I think it's enough for a 1-year deal for somebody who can provide some stability.
Yes, think maybe a little bit more than a Jake Fraley, but a Jake Fraley version of the rotation, if you will. Maybe a little bit more. I will say it is refreshing to hear, assuming that this is the line that they're going with, that, hey, that $11 million will be reallocated to bettering the club as a whole, that it's not just, oh, well, we got to get the payroll under a certain number or to a certain number, and we're just going to pocket that money. But no, that will actually be utilized for other needs, such as starting pitching. Because as of right now, we've talked about it before and we'll continue to talk about it. The 3 key contributors are Drew Rasmussen, Ryan Pepiot, Shane Baz. After that, we have a lot of question marks. Yes, we see the potential in Ian Seymour. Yes, we see the potential in Joe Boyle. Shane McClanahan, absolutely we want him to come back. But what will he be? Who will he be? How healthy will he be? So really, we have like 3 sure things and then question marks after that. And you have to have some sort of bridge or multiple bridges between the established guys, the guys that gave you 30-plus starts apiece last season, and the guys that you're still tinkering with and trying to figure out.
Exactly. And although the 3 guys that you mentioned did give you 30-plus starts, what is the likelihood that you're going to have those guys do that again, to stay that healthy. We've talked about this endlessly. That rotation for 2025 was very, very healthy, especially those three guys. Very, very good with staying on the bump the whole season, basically.
I mean, it's something that was only done once in the last decade plus for the Rays, like
exactly.
12 or something.
Like it doesn't happen. Yeah, 2012. Like it doesn't happen that often. So it is a big deal. But now after that, can you put your hand on the fire that Ian Seymour's going to make 30 starts? No. Or Joe Boyle? No. Or that their success is going to lead for them to even get 20 plus starts? Like, I mean, we have had Rays starters show really good stuff for a couple years and then drift off. We can call on Josh Fleming. We can say Johnny Chirinos. We can say Jake Faria.
Jake Faria. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Or even Patino, a hotshot prospect that
Matt
we got in the Blake Snell trade
Yeah.
that we thought was going to be incredibly special. And yeah, you see a couple good starts here and there, but can you sustain it for a full season and beyond a full season? And that's the thing that the Rays have to try to determine and figure out for 2026. So it's good to know that, they're going to be searching the market far and wide to find some type of veteran that they can plug and play, as that number 4, number 5, whatever it may be.
Exactly. And that's why a veteran with Rays roots might just fit that $11 million window perfectly. The NBA is back, and there's no better place to get in on the action than FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. Even if you missed the start of the game or you want to ride the hot hand, FanDuel has live bets on everything from who will score next to fourth quarter comebacks. And you know what? You can always use them as green Skittles on FanDuel. That's always a lot of fun. And right now, FanDuel is giving you customers $300 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. You heard that right. $300 in bonus bets to new customers when your first $5 bet wins. So head to FanDuel.com right now to sign up and play your game with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. Thank you so much for tuning in to Locked On Rays, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Merrill Kelly is that veteran starter that could be within the Rays budget. And before I give you the reasons why, let me tell you folks, the ones that just punch their monitor and say, what, Merrill Kelly? Okay, first of all, don't punch your monitor. Laptops are very expensive nowadays, and it takes a long time to get them fixed. That's number one.
That's an inside joke there, but that is valid and correct.
Number two, look, it's $11 million. I'm sorry. I can't get you a Garrett Cole type. I'm not going to get you a Tarek Skubal type. I'm working with $11 million.
You're not even going to get Justin Verlander on his last leg. As cool as it would be to experience that for a year. Hall of Fame, Rays uniform, swan song, all that.
Exactly. But I can get you Merrill Kelly here, and I will tell you why it's actually a good fit. So Merrill Kelly made $8.5 million in both 2023 and 2024. I couldn't find an actual value in his 2025. It seemed like he had a club option that was picked up, obviously, for 25, and it was between 2.2 mil and 4.8 mil. That's all I could find. So that 2025 salary is a little bit iffy here, split between Arizona and the Rangers. But that should be kind of an eye-opening look of, hey, maybe $11 million for a one-year contract wouldn't be so bad. Then you can say, well, what are the chances that he's going to say yes to a one-year contract? Well, he's 37, folks. Right. So it's not like he's like, oh, let me go. I'm surely going to sign for 5 years here. No, the 1 year is not out of the question for 37 years old. Which if he's made $8.5 million in the past, 11 million should be like a nice incentive for a 1 year, Kev.
Right. And I feel like the Rays could be creative with, throwing in some incentives here and there and really, allowing him to make an extra million or two. I mean, again, we have the Ha-Seong Kim contract off our hands, so there should be some funds to make something like that work. But Merrill Kelly's a name that we've thrown around the last couple of years and never wound up in a Rays uniform outside of being drafted by the team in 2010 and making it all the way to AAA. But I think a move like this, whether it's a Merrill Kelly or something similar, would work. A guy who, has the production, has the track record, but the mark against him is the age and being 37 years old. And I think in 2025, he played for two different teams. In the second team he played for, he kind of slid a little bit in the second half of the season. So he might not be, the Rangers. So he might not be as shiny, coming off that, somewhat down stretch ending the season. But I think a move like this would be that perfect bridge between, the three established guys that we mentioned and then the question marks that we have for 2026. And, maybe I think what works in Merrill Kelly's favor is he doesn't rely on, a 97, 98, 99 mile per hour fastball. He gets it done with, trickery and having 4 or 5 different offerings, getting guys to chase, not walking guys. Like if you look at his Savant page, it is pretty impressive from multiple perspectives. And the fact that he hasn't had to rely, he gets away and can sustain himself with a slower fastball. To me, that signals at 37 years old, he should still be able to do what he's qualified to do. It's not like he is, if a guy was kind of a one-trick pony with, hey, he lives and dies by the heater, then as you get to 37, 38 years old, you're just inevitably going to lose velocity. I feel like that kind of plays up to the Rays' hands a little bit if they were to go after a guy like this.
And you're very correct in assuming that he just knows how to pitch. He just knows how to pitch. He's a 37-year-old. And besides the veteran leadership that he would, command in that locker room, at least in the starting rotation. Look, we all really enjoy Raz and Pepiot and Baz, but this guy's been to a World Series.
Yes,
he's in the brightest of lights. Those other three guys have not done that. And I think that can rub off on people and they know what to expect. And ultimately, if you're a guy at 37 that doesn't rely on 97 and 98, so he knows how to pitch, imagine if he can rub off on that to a guy that does have 97, 98, like a Pepiot, like a Raz, like a Baz. Now you're giving that information, that experience to guys that do have that stuff that could be quite potent. And now you're telling them how to pitch, not telling them, but you're learning things from him. You've heard it from the Dodgers in these World Series interviews, right? How much Miguel Rojas has influenced Mookie Betts at shortstop. That, you wouldn't put that on paper as, +3 WAR, but I'm sure it's helped Mookie Betts, right? So you could do that. Merrill Kelly could do the same for these young guys like Rasmussen, Pepiot, and Baz. I think this is a reliable guy. And Kevin, when you look at the innings pitched from 2015 till 2025, this guy is stable. This is from the KBO and MLB. 181, 200, 190, 158, 183. I'm skipping 2020. 158, 200, 177, 73, got hurt, 184. So when he's healthy, and he's mostly healthy, he will be there every 5 days.
Yeah. Think of him maybe as a poor man's Charlie Morton of, hey, he slides in, gives you 170 to 180 innings. He's productive, he's valuable, and he provides some mentorship and guidance to the starters that are still trying to find their way. For the record, Merrill Kelly has, I count 6 different pitches: a changeup, a four-seamer, a cutter, a sinker, a curve, and a slider. His four-seamer this past season averaged 91.8 miles per hour. His most used pitch is actually his changeup. His chase percentage is in the 91st percentile, and his walk percentage is in the 76th percentile. So he knows that he's a guy that, hey, I'm not going to light up the radar gun. I'm not going to get a ton of strikeouts. So it's finding other ways to get guys out.
Okay. So we're definitely on the pro camp that this is something that we should look at. But let's look at it from the other side as well. If you're playing devil's advocate, if you're red teaming this thing, what don't you like about Merrill Kelly? Besides, I think the age is a pretty big one, but I don't really think I can find another other than that, the age.
I mean, I guess it would be again, looking at his Savant page. I mean, when contact is given up, it is relatively hard, but he induces a lot of ground balls too. So I really think that is the big question mark is the age. At what point do you break down? I mean, I think that was the thing with the Rays and Charlie Morton of we could have had Charlie Morton back again. He winds up going to the Braves because it was probably just, hey, are we going to get burned on this of at what point does he not look like the player that we thought he would be? And it winds up being a disaster where he gets hurt or he gets lit up and it becomes a problem. So, and that's where, I mean, honestly, with $11 million, you're going to, if you're after a veteran starter in free agency, you're going to have to target somebody that has some flaws one way or the other.
There's got to be a risk somewhere. So what I'm seeing here is really the age is what we would be gambling on. And when his arm would start saying, you know what, I'm actually a 5+ ERA guy now. Right. No longer that 3.7, 4.4 guy. I think that's the only negative, right? Which that would be a problem. That would be a massive problem. But I just don't see, any other thing. I mean, when you're saying he's a ground ball heavy pitcher, I'm thinking, great. The Rays have a really good defense. They're playing at a pitcher's park. So even if contact is made, it still could be within the ballpark and would not be conducive to allowing home runs.
Yeah. And I know you love the left on base percentage. That seems to be pretty good for all intents and purposes as well.
There you go. Okay, well, guys, leave it in the comments. Do you agree that Merrill Kelly should be a target for the Rays?
If not him, who else? Who else are you marking? And again, be realistic about what you can get for a 1-year, $10-11 million deal as far as the starter goes, because the slimmings get relatively slim, especially as you see guys out there that are getting gobs of money just because they can eat up innings. So we have to consider it from that perspective as well. Meanwhile, a guy that is still relatively young and throws hard, that's Pete Fairbanks. Yes, we have another segment on him. But what's interesting is that a crowded reliever market may not bode too well for Pete Fairbanks.
NFL season is back, and honestly, there's nothing better than being in the stadium surrounded by fans cheering on your team. But let's be honest, getting tickets can always be a hassle. Between queues, login screens, it's always a mess. And that's why I use Game Time, the app that gives the advantage back to fans. In fact, I was in Fort Lauderdale a couple of weeks back. I wanted to see a soccer game. Guess what I did? I used Game Time because you'll always get 100% authentic tickets. So today, download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, that's promo code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off your first purchase. Swipe, tap, ticket, go. Download Game Time today.
Thank you for listening to the Locked On Rays podcast and making us your very first listen every day. We appreciate it. We are, of course, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Pete Fairbanks will have competition in free agency, and that might mean struggles to land a large contract that he's seeking. Of course, the Rays declined his $11 million option, making him a free agent. And what's interesting is if you look at any of the baseball websites out there, whether it's MLB Trade Rumors, Fangraphs, MLB.com, wherever you go and you look at their listing of top free agents, top 25, top 50, top 100 free agents, there's a lot of relievers mixed in there. Just as an example, MLB Trade Rumors, their ranking of the top 50 free agents has 11 relievers ahead of Fairbanks, who have him at number 44. For the record, they do project him, and sometimes this is wildly inaccurate, but this is what they're projecting, an $18 million 2-year deal with the Marlins, Cubs, and Blue Jays mentioned as suitors. But really, the thing that I'll be watching and looking for is what he winds up getting. Does he come out better with the Rays declining the option, or is he going to have to fight for, a 1-year, $8 million deal with an option? And again, if you have, it's all what, people, their taste in relievers are among the league. But I am curious to see where Fairbanks winds up as far as his contract and salary number in 2026.
I would be surprised if he doesn't get at least a 2-year deal. I would be surprised if he signs for 1 year. That's going to be rough. But I think he's going to sign for 2 years at the minimum. I think 2 years, 18 mil is really affordable, and honestly, will make a normal budgeting payroll team be okay with that type of money. I understand that the Rays, unfortunately, were not at that normal budget payroll status, hopefully one day with a new stadium. But right now we're not at a normal budgeting payroll standard. We have to operate between around 80, 85, unfortunately. Now,
so you're saying the Rays kind of did Fairbanks a favor by letting him go to that option? I
think maybe not in his stability, family stability, and all that. But I think financially, I think he should be able to get a 2-year, $18 million. Now, the Marlins, sure, Cubs, Blue Jays, I could see them. I mean, the Blue Jays would definitely welcome Pete Fairbanks. He does go north, but it's a dome, so you can have climate control there. And we saw in the World Series and the playoffs how they played mostly with the roof closed. Now,
I guess that does limit his likability among teams. Do you play in a warm weather environment, cold weather environment? Are you in a dome? Because we know about the hands and the cold weather and all that. And
the Cubs are mentioned, and I think that would be insanity for Pete in April and in September, or let alone October. But I will say, I think there's a big club that is not mentioned here, Marlins, Cubs, and Blue Jays, who we all know needs bullpen help, and who we all know they have the money, and who we all know like some Rays players. The LA Dodgers, he's going to be an LA Dodger. I mean, 2-year, $18 million. Hello, Blake Snell. Hello, old teammate Tyler Glasnow. He's going back there. I mean, I just have no doubt in my mind that a team like the Dodgers would scoff at 2 years, $18 million. And we all know that they had issues, big issues in that bullpen. And if they really want to do something right before a possible lockout in 2027, this could be the last time that the Dodgers can go, bleep you, we're getting everybody that we want. This is the last time before something happens in the CBA that they might have their hands tied after that. So I don't see why Pete Fairbanks wouldn't be mentioned with the Dodgers, especially because of the weather thing. LA, not that cold, my man.
Yeah. And again, you only need one suitor. I mean, if one guy or one team out there is willing to pay the freight of $18-20 million across 2 years, you sign on the dotted line right there. Now, there is some, maybe some detractors or reasons why teams might not want Pete Fairbanks is the fact that outside of last year, you could really only bank on him giving you, 45 innings. And you mentioned the strikeout rate and some of the other issues that he dealt with. And there seems to be a little bit of a trend. I don't know how recently, but in years past, where a guy is extremely dominant or very valuable as a pitcher to the Rays, then goes elsewhere and struggles for one reason or another. So that could be a marker on him as well. But I would imagine, teams need relievers every single year. Yes, there are 11 relievers technically ranked ahead of Pete Fairbanks, but I mean, 2-year, $18 million doesn't seem that crazy. So it will be interesting to see what the numbers ultimately shake out with Pete Fairbanks. What this does signal, though, is based on what you mentioned and what the projections are, Pete is not coming back to the Rays. That is donezo. And he's probably kind of slighted by the Rays of declining the option in the first place. So the idea of, bringing him back on a even more team-friendly deal, to me, is totally out of the question at this point. So go ahead, sell your Pete Fairbanks jersey, or go ahead and frame it and have it as a forever keepsake, whatever it may be. On that note, we hope you all have a wonderful day. Stay safe, and we will talk to you later.